Chapter 286. She opened the Pandora's box, Section 4. Christina's heart began to beat fast as she neared the house of her mother. She could tell she was closer as the footsteps of her guides quickened in unison. She had not seen her mother since she was separated from her as a child. She did not expect her mother to recognize her after so many years. All she longed for was to hug and kiss her mother. She had very few memories of her left. It was she who took her to that hellish country of the Arabs. It was she who had abandoned her to the whims and fancies of the evil Saudi. It was only when she found out that her mother had been falsely accused of all her crimes did her mindset change to allow her to see the truth. Her mother was just as much a victim as she was. When she finally came to learn of her mother's sacrifice of love for her, she finally understood the kind of noble heart beating in her mother's heart. Christina was surprised when she saw the house the boy pointed out. He announced the place where Begum Rayhanaji lived with her husband, the Mullah Sheikh Uldin Khan. It wasn't a chawl. It was a big house built out of concrete, cement and bricks. It was two-story building, but looked like skyscraper among those small shawls. It was a combination of 3 houses joined together. It had 3 outside doors, and the boy helpfully pointed out the door to the home of Begum Rayhanaji. When Christina asked him about the other 2 doors, he said to her they were the doors of the other 2 wives of the Mullah Sheikh Uldin Khan. She wondered as why her mother would agree to marry a man who had other 2 women. She thought that she might have agreed to marry him because of his religious status or because she was a divorcee with children. Christina worried about the reaction of her stepfather when he would see her in her Western dress. Being a religious man, she expected that he might not approve her tight jeans and t-shirt. He might ask her to put on Islamic clothes like all the women had on. She thought that her mother might not like her dress too. She wished that she could borrow an Islamic dress from one of those fully burqa-clad girls who kept following her all the time. When they reached the house, she asked the boy to knock on the door to her mother's residence. The boy refused to do so. He told her that the Mullah Sheikh Uldin Khan would not like any man to knock on his door or visit one of his wives. So, Christina gathered her courage and knocked on the door of Begum Rayhanaji. She expected her mother to show up any moment, but after a few minutes she saw the door opening and there stood a big man. He was huge and had very long beard. He looked like the Taliban terrorists that she saw every now and then in Western clips. As a matter of fact, the Mullah Sheikh Uldin Khan traced his ancestry to the Mughals and proudly claimed in his sermons that he was a direct descendant of Akbar the Great, Babur, Timur, Tamerlane, and Genghis Khan. From the founder of the great Mongol Empire, Genghis Khan, which means King of Kings, the Mullah Sheikh Uldin Khan claimed to have acquired his royal last name, Khan. If it wasn't for the accursed British who abolished the Mughal dynasty in India, repeatedly claimed the Mullah Khan, I would have been a Mughal emperor today, and I would have ruled India from Kanyakumari to Kashmir and from Calcutta to Mumbai. The Mullah's face was devoid of any friendly gesture. He rather looked serious and angry. He was carrying prayer beads in his left hand and a big stick on his right hand. He screened Christina from head to foot before he asked her in a harsh voice, "What do you want?" His harsh voice and the fierce in his eyes tempted Christina to run for her life, but somehow she stood her ground and answered his question. "I have come to meet Begum Rayhanaji Sheikh Uldin Khan." "Who are you and what is your name?" "My name is Christina Fernandez." "Are you a social worker?" Religious leaders, politicians, and police officers in India scare of social workers more than they scare of Satan. "I am not." "What do you want from my woman, Rayhana?" "I am her daughter and I have come to see my mother." "What have you said?" "I am Rayhana's daughter. My wife never had a daughter in all her life. Maybe she did not tell you about me, but I am the daughter of her first husband." "That couldn't possibly happen. Your name is Christina and you look like a Christian woman and my wife is a Muslim." "I was a Muslim too, but I have converted to Christianity." The mullah Sheikh al-Din Khan felt as if the devil had appeared to him in the form of a female creature and about to tempt him to eat from the forbidden tree. Therefore, he decided first to ask his Allah's protection from Satan before he would carry on a stand-up fight with him. Aozabil alamina al-shaitan al-rajim, I seek refuge in Allah from the stone Satan. May the curse of Allah and his angels and all people be upon you. Go away you accursed Nazrani, Christian woman. Go from here you kafira and najisa, infidel and unclean woman. I don't want to see your face again. Then, the Mullah Khan slammed the door of his house on his stepdaughter's face. Christina did not like his words and did not like his reaction. She decided to challenge him and force him to call her mother to meet her. She knocked the door even harder than before, agitating the man, her stepfather. The Mullah Sheikh al-Din Khan reopened his door and when he found Christina still standing there, he yelled in her face. I have told you go away. I don't want to see you again standing in front of my house. I haven't come to see you. I have come to meet my mother. I have the right to see my mother and my mother has the right to meet me. You have lost the right to meet any Muslim person. You have left Islam and become an apostate. I am telling you for the last time, go away from here. I don't want to see you in this Muslim town again. I am going from here directly to the police. I am going to complain that you have locked my mother inside your house and you haven't allowed her to meet her own daughter. The Mullah Sheikh al-Din Khan ignored the threat. He looked at the young boys who were standing and forming a half circle around Christina and said to them angrily, Is this the way you would like your mullah to be insulted and challenged by a filthy murtada and kafira, apostatized and infidel woman, and all of you are standing and listening without doing anything? The words of the angry mullah became like a fatwa, a religious decree usually issued to instigate violence against an enemy, which suddenly changed the attitudes of the young boys towards Christina. Before they were lusting after her semi-nude body and beauty, but after they heard the fatwa of their religious leader, they felt they had been given a license to carry out heart's content. They understood from her conversation with their mullah that she was a Muslim before and she had forsaken Islam and became a Christian. They also understood that she fooled them and made them believe that she did not know Urdu, but her conversation with their religious leader revealed that she was speaking perfect Urdu and that proved she was born a Muslim but forsook Islam and became an infidel dog. Therefore, their lusts were mingled with religious frenzy. All of a sudden, the Muslim boys attacked the defenseless girl, like a pack of male dogs that had a female dog cornered with no means of escape. Their unexpected action made Christina to believe as if those boys were suddenly got possessed by demons of rage and lust. One of them jumped over her and grabbed her t-shirt and tore it into two halves. Another one joined him and began to pull down her jeans. They were like two mad dogs tearing the flesh of a prey. Yet, another one caught hold of her bra and snatched it off of her chest. Her breasts popped out immediately. When her shoulders, chest, and breasts were fully exposed, the boys became like hungry wild beasts that saw meat uncovered before them. When Christina overcame the shock, she discovered the upper part of her body was fully exposed. She started to fight back and push away the hands that were trying to pull down her jeans. When she realized that this was not a battle she was about to win, she began to scream at the top of her voice. She hoped that her mother would hear her screaming and come out for her rescue. After he farted out his satanic fatwa, the evil Mullah Sheikh al-Din Khan had already retreated and closed the door of his house. Christina's cries for help made many women and men to come out of their shawls. They were shocked when they saw the half-naked girl was surrounded by more than 10 boys who were trying to strip her clothes off. The boys managed to remove her shirt and bra, but could not pull out her jeans. Luckily, the jeans was built to take abuse, and the zips, buttons and rivets held tight. Nevertheless, 2 tough boys knocked her down and jumped over her body and continued their efforts trying to strip her fully naked. Those 2 boys had come late and joined the group without Christina noticing their presence. They were big and tough and looked like 2 lions and the other boys like dogs compared to them. They were so blinded by their lusts that they felt nothing could stop them from raping the Christian girl in broad daylight and before all the astonished onlookers. Christina gave up hope and knew she could do nothing to prevent those human beasts from raping her. In her desperate condition she wished the earth would open and swallow her up alive. She had never expected that one day she would be so humiliated and publicly abused and raped. She just continued to cry and begged the women to come for her rescue. When no one came for her rescue, Christina remembered God and offered a prayer to him. An old woman suddenly stepped in and began to shout and push away those two boys from Christina. Her noble action led other women to join her and force the boys to desist. Then, the same old woman removed her black burqa and handed it over to Christina and told her to stand up and wrap it around her exposed chest and breasts. Christina forced her dormant body and stood on her feet. Then, she donned the burqa and covered her entire body. She was shaking like a reed and her entire body was bleeding and sweating. The old woman held her body until she felt she could stand by herself. Then she told her to leave the Muslim town and go from where she came and requested her never to come back again. After her rescue, Christina decided to go to the police station and lodge a complaint against her evil stepfather who instigated the boys into a mob and had them abused her. She determined to make her stepfather pay to the full extent of the law and spend his time behind bars. She was still weeping when the old woman gave her the burqa. She asked the women to tell her where the nearest police station was. None of the women was willing to take a risk and come between their religious leader and the Nazrania girl. They knew that their husbands would hammer them to death if they learned that their wives went against the Mullah Sheikh al-Din Khan and took the side of an infidel dog. Additionally, many of the attacking boys were their own sons. Besides, the women did not want to bring scandal to their town by causing the imam of their mosque to be arrested. The old woman once again advised the Nazrana girl to leave their Muslim town as soon as possible, particularly before dusk, in case the boys decided to take advantage of the darkness and try to rape her again. Christina accepted the advice and began to walk away. This time, no one was willing to be her guide. She turned into one alley and began to walk aimlessly without knowing where her alley was going to take her. The boys kept following her as if she was a prostitute who dared to enter their area. Thankfully, the multitude of women and children who accompanied her prevented the boys from attacking her again until she emerged from the shawls. Christina determined to make her stepfather pay for his high-handedness. He had no right to prevent her from seeing her mother and certainly no right to incite the boys into a frenzy. She hailed the first auto rickshaw she saw, and bade the driver to take her to the nearest police station with all the haste possible. It took the rickshaw over an hour to go through tapered alleys and crooked lanes until it reached a police station. All the way long, Christina's body kept on moving backwards and forwards, swinging sideways and jumping up and down and her head hitting the roof of the small rickshaw. After a long drive, the rickshaw stopped in front of place. Then, the driver pointed her to a place which he claimed to be a police station. The place looked like a hiding place for thieves and robbers than a house of the law. The rickshaw driver took his money and vanished in a second. Christina found herself standing in a dark alley. In front of her was standing a small old building, which looked like haunted by scary and terrible ghosts. She hesitated before she pushed the door open and walked in. When she entered the police station, she found two policemen, one of them was already intoxicated. While talking to him, she could smell the liquor permeating off him. The other policeman was chewing red Indian pan, which made him look as if he was a cannibal eating raw human flesh. His mouth was so stuffed with the red leaves that caused him to turn every few seconds to his side and vomit the red liquid out, which looked like human blood. He looked so disgusting and repulsive to Christina. The intoxicated policeman introduced himself as Sergeant Mahabub and his companion as Constable Tahir. Both were Muslims. It seemed that, in that no-go town every creature was Muslim, even their demons and dogs were Muslims. The Quran teaches that, there are Muslim demons and there are infidel demons. Surah Al-Jinn 72. Muhammad claimed that, one day he met a group of jinn, demons, in the desert, and when they heard him reciting the Quran, they liked it and embraced Islam and became Muslim demons. Based on this teaching, many Muslim men claimed to have married female demons and begot sons and daughters, and likewise many Muslim women got wedded to male demons and have progeny by them. They said further that, no one can see those Muslim demons except their human husbands and wives. The Sergeant MOHAMED began to ask Christina embarrassing questions. Christina told him that she came to lodge a complaint against the Mullah Sheikh al-Din Khan. The reason of her complaint was that he forbade her to meet her mother, who was one of his 3 wives, and that he encouraged some boys to rape her. How many boys have raped you and where have they raped? I don't know how many of them, but around 10 boys. It was in front of the mullah's house. Have all the 10 boys raped you or some of them? Yes, all of them tried to rape me. You just told me they have raped you and now you are saying they tried to rape you. My question to you, have they raped you or not? They have attempted to rape me in front of many people. If my jeans wasn't securely fastened to my body, they would have pulled it out and raped me. How come you are a Muslim girl and wearing jeans and shirt underneath your burqa? Christina hesitated to answer his question. His question had a catch in it. If she would say that she wasn't a Muslim, then he would say, why you are putting on a burqa? And if she would say she was a Muslim but converted to Christianity, he might turn against her and might fix her with a false charge and lock her up. She remembered the reaction of the mullah when she told him about her conversion. Therefore, she preferred not to respond to that tricky question. When she remained silent, the sergeant looked at her for a while and then asked her, "Are you a prostitute or street girl?" "I am neither. I came to visit my mother, but her wicked husband, the Mullah Sheikh al-Din Khan, did not allow me to see her. He told the boys to attack me. Istighfirullah, I ask Allah's forgiveness. How dared you call our righteous Imam, the Mullah Sheikh al-Din Khan, a wicked man? Are you a Nazrania infidel or a Hindu polytheist?" The other policeman was listening and writing down what Christina was saying. When he heard her unacceptable remarks about his religious leader, he stopped his writing and looked at her with very angry face. Then, the angry constable, Tahir, shouted out, "Do you have any proofs that those Muslim boys have raped you?" "Yes, I have. They have torn my shirt and pulled out of my chest my bra." "Can you open your burqa and show us how they tore your shirt?" resumed the intoxicated sergeant, MOHAMED. "I can't do that, sir. I will remove my burqa in the presence of a female police officer or in the hospital to a female doctor or nurse." "You have to show us your torn clothes now," shouted again, Constable Tahir. "No, sir. I am not going to show you my body. We are policemen and we have the right to see how your clothes have been torn," insisted the drunkard policeman. Christina was as a frightened deer that ran from ravenous wolves and sought refuge into the den of 2 hungry lions. Or like an innocent girl who ran from her evil stepfather and looked for justice from dangerous gangsters. In the third world, the most dangerous person for the woman was the policeman. In that part of the world, a girl could be raped by policemen inside a police wagon. In Mumbra, men saw in the unveiled woman nothing except an uncovered meat, and believed it was their divine right granted by their God to devour it. Christina understood that those policemen were trying to take advantages of her situation. It was already dark and the police station was located in an isolated area. There was hardly anyone to be seen in that place. Christina stood up and tried to walk out of their small office. When she turned her back and about to walk out, the intoxicated Sergeant MOHAMED held her from behind and closed her mouth. The constable Tahir pulled out her burqa and left her with her torn shirt and jeans only. She had no bra on her breasts. The entire upper part of her body was exposed again. The sight of her exposed breasts drew those wicked policemen extremely crazy. They became like ferocious animals that saw fresh meat uncovered before them. They violently twisted her hands and forced her to kneel down on the floor and pulled out her jeans and her underwear. Christina began to shout and call for help. In that part of the world, no one would risk his life by trying to rescue someone being tortured or raped by the cops. Christina couldn't move a limb. Those two human beasts had fully immobilized her. Like wild beasts that caught hold of a defenseless stray deer, the two vile policemen began to devour Christina's body as if they had never touched a woman before. She thought that she would not survive the brutal way those two human beasts had raped her inside their police station. In her desperate struggle to stop them from raping her, Christina remembered how her mother was raped many years before in the desert of Saudi Arabia by two wicked Arab police officers. She felt as if it was a curse passed from mother to daughter. Christina could not stand the impact of that vicious assault, for even a few minutes. Her body was fully crushed beneath the heavy weight of those violent men. She lost her consciousness before they raped her. Nonetheless, her lifeless body did not stop them from carrying out their evil act. After violently and repeatedly raping her, the two policemen took her in their wagon, drove many miles away from Mumbra town, and threw her unconscious body in the jungle. They concluded that she was already dead and hence they did not see the need to murder her. In that lonely jungle, they knew that no one would come there to find her body. Therefore, the two evil policemen just dumped her remains on the open without bothering themselves to bury her dead body. Then, they drove back to their police station, chatting and cracking jokes to each other as if nothing had happened.